Hello guys. For your module 7 of your IGAMEC or your introduction to game concepts, our topic is regarding role-playing game genre or the RPG genre. So for the objectives at the end of this lesson, students should be able to learn what a role-playing game is, learn about the game features of role-playing game genre, learn the core mechanics of a role-playing game genre, learn the magic, skills, and other capabilities in role-playing games. Okay, so first, what are role-playing games? So role-playing games or RPG are ones in which the player controls one or more character. So typically designed by the player and guides them through a series of quests managed by the computer. So victory consists of completing this quest. So character growth in power and abilities is a key feature of the genre. So um, in adventure games, so the main mechanics will be to accomplish or to solve the puzzle. Okay. So in role-playing games, the main mechanic will be to complete the quest. So basically, quests are list of tasks that you as the player and your avatar will need to accomplish within the game. So if you accomplish this type or this quest, you will be rewarded by or you will be rewarded with gold, experience, or some of the time or most of the time items that you can equip to your avatar. So typical challenges include tactical combat, logistics, economic growth, exploration, and puzzle solving. So physical coordination challenges are rare except in RPG action hybrids. Okay, so these are the common types of challenges that you'll be encountering in RPG games. So computerized RPG games are an outgrowth of the original non-computerized pencil and paper role-playing games, of which Dungeons and Dragons is by far the most famous example. So the object of both kinds of games, computerized and otherwise, is to experience a series of adventures in an imaginary world through an avatar character or a small group of characters whose skills and powers grow as time goes on. So this will be an example of the gameplay for your Dungeons and Dragons. So as you can see, this is a version of the non-computerized role-playing game wherein in order for you to play this game, you'll be needing a map. Okay, so basically this is the map where your characters can navigate through the map. So most of the time, you'll be needing dices, okay, so to determine how many moves you can do within the game. So, and mostly while playing this type of tabletop RPG games, you need to say what you're going or what your character is going to do. So if your character moves through this road, then you need to say that within the game. Okay. So a group of characters who go on these adventures together in an RPG is universally called a party. So in tabletop games, the adventures, usually characterized as quests to achieve some goal, are devised and staged by one player acting in a special role as the game master or dungeon master. So basically, in computerized RPG games, we refer to the game master as the GM. Okay, so usually these game masters or GM are the one that manages the whole game. So uh, they're the one that maintains the rules, perform the activities of the game master within the game. So usually in computerized RPG games, like in MMORPG games, game masters are the one implementing the rules, okay, catching those cheaters, etc., etc. Because the computer can offer the players only a fixed set of actions to take and can't invent new rules on the fly, CRPG or computerized role-playing games aren't as flexible as the tabletop games. However, because the players do not have to implement the rules and the graphics are often stunningly beautiful, so computerized RPG games are somewhat more accessible and attractive to novice players than tabletop RPGs. So in tabletop RPGs, you need to have your physical um, toys that could represent as your characters as compared to computerized role-playing games. You can play them using your mobile phones or you can play them using your personal computer. Okay. So multiplayer online games, or usually we refer to MMORPG, also sometimes include human GMs who have a limited ability to change or expand the computer control roles. So usually these GMs, as I've mentioned, are the one controlling the game. Okay, so they could provide new rules, or they could provide new events that players can interact with. So the GM acts similarly to a GM for a board game, modifying situations and keeping the game fresh. So multiplayer online RPGs do not allow role playing between characters because the players can type messages to each other on the computer's keyboard and sometimes even talk to each other via a microphone and speakers. Or some other players will be using third-party applications wherein they can talk um, to each other instead of just typing the contents they want to say to their guild members, party members, or to other people. The essential part of a computer role-playing game then are the quest, or the story of the game, and character growth. So the quest usually requires combat. The rules of the game are designed to support it. So the rules also define how character growth occurs. So basically, this type of quest, most of the time, will be asking you to eliminate some monsters, or will be asking you to collect certain items. Okay? So once you finish the quest, or you've eliminated the monsters, you've collected the items and finished the quest, you will then be rewarded with experience points, gold coins, or some of the time you'll be given items. So basically, this is an example of a dashboard for the quest that you'll be seeing in RPG games. So this is an example of the quest dashboard for the game MU Origin 2. So basically, in this quest, you are asked to eliminate 3 or 4 monsters. And if you eliminate or kill these 4 monsters, then you will be rewarded with experience. Okay, so some games you will be rewarded with experience points or some type of or of valuable items that you can use within the game. So for the game features of your role-playing game, in order for the story to progress and the characters to develop, the characters have to have something to do. So therefore, exploring and combat make up a big part of most CRPGs or computerized role-playing games. In most such games, the stories and challenges are prescripted. So the player experiences the same thing each time he plays the game. Okay, so regardless how many times you'll be playing the game, and how many times you'll be creating the your character. Okay, so if you'll be using multiple accounts and multiple characters, you'll still be experiencing the same gameplay. Okay, so the outcome of the quest or the outcome of the story won't change. Okay, that's why it was mentioned in here that it was prescripted. It was already predefined within the game. So let's start with the game features. So first will be the themes. So CRPGs generally allow the player to experience a pivotal role in solving some hugely important problems. So the premise of most role-playing games can be summed up in the statement, only you can save the world, or the tribe or city, or whatever level of society is threatened. So basically, this type of themes will be requiring a protagonist that will be saving the whole world. So you as the character or the protagonist will go through series of tasks or quests, okay, in order for you to accomplish or to solve the problem within the game. So in here we have a short cinematics for the Diablo 3. So basically in here they'll be showing the problem the main character of the game will need to solve. Okay, so
Light and shadow
okay.
will
So in this opening introduction, they'll be showing who will be the final boss that is threatening the whole world. Okay, that will be I believe Lord Terror. Okay, so or King Yorick. So King Yorick is the final boss for the King Diablo 3. So they will be introducing the problem that you need to be or you need to defeat King Yorick. So basically in the cinematics, they'll be showing that King Yorick arrives within this world. Okay? So that will be the premise for Diablo 3. So different types of RPG games will implement different type of themes. So however, saving the world is a cliche. An adolescent power fantasy has been terribly overused in this genre. So consider some alternatives that could have a secondary consequences as saving the world but need not. So these are some of the examples of the themes that are being implemented in different type of games. So as we've mentioned earlier, the most common theme will be only you can save the world. Okay, so there is a disaster within that game world and only you as the player can solve that. But here are some of the themes that are being implemented in different types of RPG games. So find and punish the person responsible for a loved one's murder. So learn the secret behind your hidden parentage. Rescue the kidnapped princess or prince. This is same with Super Mario. So find and reassemble the long lost pieces of the magic object. Destroy the dangerous object. Find the evidence that will exonerate you from a false accusation. Transport the valuable object past the people trying to seize it. Try to get home after having been abducted. So these are some of the examples of the themes that are being implemented in different types of role-playing games. Next, we have progression. So RPG almost always tell a story. So characterized as a long quest in pursuit of some important goal. So the quest is broken down into a number of episodes that progresses in a linear sequence in which its own subquest and major challenge at the end. So when we say a series of episodes in a linear sequence, meaning if you'll be assigned with a task or a quest, you need to finish that quest in order for you to proceed with the next quest. Okay, so that is the meaning of the progress in a linear sequence. So at the end of episodes are analogous to the boss characters at the ends of the levels in action games. So basically in action game levels, you need to defeat the boss in order for you to progress. In RPG games, you need to finish the quest in order for you to progress with the next quest. So some of this quest will be requiring you to defeat several or sometimes mini boss or certain characters or sometimes just collect objects within the game. So this is an example of your different types of quests for MU Origin 2. So basically this is the dashboard for your quest. As you can see, in this game you'll be having three types of quests. So you have your main quests, daily quests, and side quests. So when we say linear progression, as you can see, you'll be seeing progress in here. So within the main quest, you are assigned 24 tasks or 24 sub quests within the main quest. Okay, so you need to perform all of these in order for you to progress to the next task. Okay, so that's how the main quest in role-playing games happen. So in order to progress from one episode to the next, the player party has to have enough strength to overcome whatever major challenge lies at the end of the current episode. So this won't be possible. Uh, so the activities during the chapter help the characters to grow enough. So basically, if the game is asking you to finish this certain task, you as the character will be or you'll be needing to prepare yourself. Okay, you need to level up, increase your task in order for you to accomplish the task. So some quests will be requiring a certain number of level. So let's say for example the minimum level in order for you to take this quest is level 50, then you need to reach level 50 in order for you to progress to that quest. Okay, you need to grind, you need to gather experience, you need to gather items in order for you to finish several tasks. Okay, so there are also some quests that will be requiring you a party in order to accomplish. So those type of tasks will depend based on the game that you are playing. In addition to the quests that lie along the main storyline, there are also optional side quests that are unrelated to the main ones. So visible or audible cues inform the player that one of the NPCs in the game has a problem that the party can solve. So if the party goes up and talks to her, the player learns of the side quest and choose to accept or reject it. So basically, these side quests, okay, are not required within the game, but they will be providing you some resources in order for you to easily progress within the game. So this side quest can provide you additional experience to level up, or can provide you additional equipments that you can use for your main quest. So this is an example of an NPC quest or an NPC or non-player character that could provide you quest. So this is a screenshot from Revelation Online. Most of the time, these NPCs that assigns you quest will have visual cues. Okay, so you'll be seeing certain clues in order for you to know that you need to talk to this person. So the main cue that you will be seeing here is a question mark above the NPC. So different games will have different types of implementation for these cues. So normally, there's no penalty for refusing one apart from the missed opportunity to have another adventure and earn some more experience. Or sometimes will earn you gold or items from those side quests. So players can usually abandon a side quest without a penalty. So side quests seldom carry over from episode to episode. Okay, so this is an example of your side quest for the game MU Origin 2. So as you can see, the side quest will be as easy as finding new friends or adding new friends within the game. Okay, and that could also be simple tutorials on how to enter the graveyard and to enhance gears. Then, as we mentioned with the main quest, you'll be rewarded with certain items. Okay, so in this instance, you'll be rewarded with experience points and gold coins if you finish the side quests. So for figure number one, we have the typical CRPG progression. So basically, these episodes will require you to finish the main story or the main task. Okay, so for each of episode, you'll be having a main quest or main task that you need to accomplish in order for you to proceed to the next. As you can see, we have optional quest in here. So it's up to the player if he or she wants to accomplish this optional quest. Again, optional quests or side quests are not required to progress within the game. They will only be providing you additional resources that you can use within the game. Next, the next game feature for our RPG games will be the gameplay modes. So, typical RPG use four major gameplay modes and a variable number of minor ones. So, the major modes are exploration and combat, conversation, trade, inventory, or equipment management. So, the minor modes are character creation. So, use only at the beginning. So, basically, if you're creating your character or you're designing your character before playing the game. So, character appearance and upgrade screens and skill tree management. So, we'll be starting first with the exploration and combat. So, in older computer games, exploration was often the gameplay mode separate from combat. And the two modes have different camera models. So, in modern games, they combine them into a single mode. So, the traditional party-based RPGs often use an isometric perspective so the player can see the whole party. Okay, so when we say isometric perspective, so basically, he'll be seeing all the characters nearby to you. Okay, so this could be your party members. You can also see all the monsters nearby. Okay, so figure 2 is from Baldur's Gate 2, Throne of Baal, which illustrates an isometric perspective. So this is an example of your isometric perspective. So as you can see all the party members. Okay, so these are your party members. So you'll be having the icons for your each of your party members on the right side. Then these are your actual party members avatar. Then you'll be seeing the NPCs in here. And if ever there are close by monsters, you'll also be seeing them. So basically in this user interface, we have several options that you can do within the game. Okay, so we have these actions. This could be attack, inventory, etc., etc. Then you can also have certain menus in here for the formation of your party. So notice the complexity of the user interface with buttons along the three sides of the screen as well as a scrolling text window at the bottom. So the actions available in the exploration and combat mode includes selecting one or more characters in the party, setting a formation in which they will move together, designating a location for them to walk or run to, designating NPCs for them to attack or to talk to, picking up objects and exercising special skills such as magic spells or searching for traps. The next game feature for our role-playing games will be the conversation. So conversation modes often use the same perspective in a game world as the exploration and combat mode, but replace the exploration and combat related user interface features with a dialogue display mechanism. So the player selects an NPC in the game world to speak to. So NPC refers to non-player characters. So a window opens presenting a list of things that the avatar can say to the NPC. So the player chooses one, and depending on what her choice is, the NPC replies. So something in text, but often with an audio recording as well. But most of the time, this will only be in text. Okay, most of the time. Asking the right questions or saying the right things elicits useful information from the NPC and sometimes gains experience points for the player as well. So I'll be showing you the next figure, that will be figure number 3, shows a conversation in the game Elder Scroll 5 Skyrim. So the camera model is first person perspective, and the person the player is speaking to is in the foreground. So her name appears beside her and what she has said appears across the bottom. So the player's menu of possible responses is at the right with an icon to indicate that one is currently selected. So basically, this is the user interface that you'll be seeing if you'll be talking to an NPC in the game Skyrim. So as you can see, this is the name of your NPC and this is her dialogue. Then you'll be given choices on how to respond within the or how to respond for the how to respond to the NPC. The next game feature that we have for your RPG will be your trade. Any buying or selling of items in the game takes place in a specialized trading mode. So most games in this genre have towns or settlements with friendly NPCs, blacksmiths, healers, and so on. So who run businesses that offer to buy or sell goods and services. So basically, this type of NPCs, okay, will be selling you all the items that you'll be needing to level up. So this could be potions, this could be skill scrolls, or this could be weapons or armors that you need within the game. So MMORPGs often have auction houses at which players can sell items to other players too. So some other games will have features of vending or selling their own items to a safe zone. So usually at the um, landing map for low level characters. The interface is similar to the conversation mode with a view of the shop, sometimes an image of the person of the avatar bargains with, and a list or a set of image of the available items that the player can buy in the NPC. Next is we have inventory. So the inventory mode lets the player manage the object that a given character is carrying around. So because CRPGs tend to include large numbers of objects, players need a system for keeping track of them and trading them among characters. So it's not realistic to simulate the actual packing of items into a backpack. And in any case, most games allow characters to carry more than would be credible if they were real people. So instead, a typical solution is to divide the character's carrying capacity into an array of boxes. So each box can carry one type of item. So large items take up several adjacent boxes. If an item is small enough, a single box can store several of them, up to some maximum limit. So this is called stacking. So usually, a little number appears at the top of the item to indicate how many are stacked in there. So most of the time you'll be seeing this stacking in items such as potions. Okay, so let's say for example, a single box can store multiple potions, could be up to 3 potions only or up to 50 potions depending on the implementation of the game. So figure number 4 shows the inventory mode for Dungeon Siege 2, which appears as a pop-up window over the main game world. So this is the inventory mode in Dungeon Siege 2. So basically, this is what you'll be seeing within the inventory of most of the games for RPG genre. So as you can see, you have small boxes in here that represents the storage capacity of your inventory. Then you have the items, okay, within your inventory. So most of the time, your inventory will be divided into two main parts. So the first main part will be the part of the inventory that indicates that these items are your equipped items, meaning these are the items that you are currently wearing or your avatar is currently wearing. And the second part will be the storage, okay, of your inventory. So meaning these are the items that your character currently brings aside from his or her equipped items. So as you can see in here, potions, okay, will only take up one box, but this shield will take up to four boxes. So the size of the item will be defining how many boxes it will occupy. It's up to you as the player on how you're going to manage these spaces within your inventory. Next, we'll be proceeding with the core mechanics for your role-playing games. So during play, most of the actions in RPG consist of the player designating a character to attempt some particular activity. So the player must then roll dice. In video games, the computer simulates this to determine how successful attempt was. So the rules governing success and failure for a particular activity describes how to test the die roll against one or more character attributes. So as the character attributes go up, the probability that the character will be successful at a given activity improves. So basically, the higher the character or the higher the level of your character or the higher the status or the stat attributes of your character, the higher the damage, okay? So complex calculations determine whether a character hits or misses an enemy. So if he does hit, how much damage he does. So basically, all the computations will be performed by the computer or the server that implements the RPG game. So basically, if you want to hit a monster, all you need to do is to focus your character to have the higher damage and higher accuracy. So accuracy determines if your attack will be dodged or not. Okay? So your damage will be defining how much damage can you inflict onto the monsters. So this can take into account a wide variety of factors. So the type of attack, the level of the attackers and defender, the amount of armor the defender is wearing, and so on and so forth. So basically, the computation for the attacks, damages, dodge consists of multiple um, parameters. Okay, so most of the time, you as the character, you need to build your character stats based on what you want to perform within the game. So we'll be explaining the character stats later on. So because characters' growth is a key element of the RPGs, their core mechanics are designed around the character's attributes. So the first core mechanic that we have under RPG games will be characterization attributes. So characterization attributes determine the general abilities and qualities of a character and change only infrequently. Status attributes describe the current state of the character and may change often. So this will change if the character levels up. Choose attributes for your game based on the actions that you want your character to be able to take. So the attributes will determine whether the character can in fact perform these actions, and if so, on how well, how quickly, how powerful, and with what probability of success. So basically, if your character within an RPG game is a spellcaster or a mage, then what you're going to do is you want to focus those attributes into intelligence, because most of spellcasters or mages will be requiring you to have high stats for intelligence, okay, to either learn skills or to cast skills with high damage using magic. So for instance, in the Dungeons and Dragons system, the dexterity attributes determine how likely it is that a character will be able to pick someone's pocket without detection. So these types of attributes determines how your character will be played within the game. What type of actions, what type of skills can they perform within the game. So it's up to you as the player how you're going to manage those attributes depending on what you want to do within the game. So here is a brief overview of some of the particular types of characterization attributes you may wish to consider. So the first one is race. Race is an unfortunate misnomer, as most games rightly do not distinguish among the conventional human races classification, such as Caucasian, Native American, South Asians, and so on. But Mostly, it's for cosmetic attributes only. So in RPG games, race refers to the groups of real and fantasy humanoids such as humans, dwarves, elves, giants, and so on. So attributes connected with race usually govern the general body type and appearance of the character. So they may also imply limits on the upper bounds of strengths or other physical attributes. So different types of games will be implementing different types of races. Okay, so the examples given in here will be humans, dwarves, elves, giants. So some other games will have undeads, will have ogres, will have trolls, etc., etc. So that will be depending on the game. Next is sex. Naturally determines the character's body type and may determine with whom the character may form romantic relationships. If the game includes them, so many games assume that all their characters are heterosexual, so such as Mass Effect is an unusual departure in this regard. So otherwise, sex is almost always a cosmetic attribute rather than a functional one. But there are several certain games that will only allow you to select this type of character class if you select this type of gender. So again, it's up to the game that you're playing on how they're going to implement this. Next is character class. So it's a form of specialization that permits the character to perform certain actions. So for instance, the spellcaster class may perform magic spells. So gain particular skills, improve certain attributes while limiting the growth of others. The object is to encourage or even require the player to create specialized rather than generalized characters. This in turn compels the player to set up a balanced party containing a mixture of character classes, which is an additional challenge. So in terms of character skills, so we'll be providing the example for mages or spellcasters. So this type of characters focus more on intelligence attributes. Okay, so these attributes are required in order for you to cast high damage spells. Okay, in order for you to have high mana. Okay, etc. etc. So as compared to mages, knights, and barbarians, their attributes will focus more on STR other than the intelligence. Okay, so their attacks will be more focused on physical attacks. So their attributes will mainly focus on strength. So the composition of creating parties is or will depend on the needs of the party. So let's say for example, if you'll be doing a raid within an RPG game, the usual composition of your party should consist of a tank or a tanker. Okay, so that character should have high HP, high armor. Okay, so that character will be the one fronting the monster. Okay, tanking all the damage. Then you'll also be needing support that could provide buffs or healers. Then you'll also be needing damage dealers. So damage dealers usually refers to the characters that deals high amount of damage, such as mages or spellcasters. So effectively, a character's class determines his role in the party. So typical classes include fighters, spellcaster, thieves with special steal abilities, and clerics with special healing abilities. You can undoubtedly think of others. So there are different types of character classes in different types of RPG games. Then it's up to you, the player, which type of character you want to play based on your uh, maybe capability. So in here, we have a sample video from the Diablo 2 character selection. So basically in here, it will be showing you what are the different character classes that you can select within the game. So you could select Barbarian, Demon Hunter, Monk, Witch Doctor, and Wizard. So all of these characters will have different types of abilities and attributes. So for Barbarians, they usually have physical strength to crush foes and they will have armors, okay, to defend from damage dealers. Now, it's up to you as the player what type of character you want to use. So, let's say, for example, for Demon Hunter, ranged weaponry and shadow manipulation makes this vengeful hero an elusive stalker of demons. So, different types of characters will be providing you different types of capabilities and attribute specialization. So, the next video that I'll be showing you will be the run online. character creation. So basically, at the start of the game, you'll be given options. So first, select your campus. So this campus could represent the race that we've mentioned earlier. So after selecting which campus you want to belong, the next thing that you'll be doing is you'll be needing to select the gender of your character. So you can either choose a girl or a boy for your character. And after selecting the gender, you'll be then tasked to select what character class or yes, character class you want to choose. So in this particular game, you can select four or you can select one of the four character classes that is available within the game. So that will be the brawler, swordsman, archer, and the shaman. So all of these characters will have different types of attributes, um, will have different types of skills. So for melee characters, you can select brawler or swordsman. Then if you want to select range characters, you can select archers and shamans. Next core mechanic is the physical attributes such as height, weight, strength, dexterity, endurance, maximum speed, maximum health, and so on. Determine how a character performs while moving. So carrying weight and during combat. Armor class is a commonly used physical attribute that contributes to the formula that determines whether a character will be hit by an enemy attack. So it is roughly equivalent to defensive dodging in Wargame. So the next two attributes that we'll be discussing will focus more on the character attributes that the games allows you to manipulate. So let's say for example in here we have the Diablo 3 character stats. So this is the character stat for the class Crusader. So the stats refers to these four, okay, in this particular instance or this particular example. So these stats will be the STR for strength, Dex for dexterity, so Int for intelligence, Vit for vitality. So basically in this type of game, you need to manipulate the stats that you'll be assigning for your character in order for you to maximize the capabilities of your character. So for physical attributes, we usually refer to strength, dexterity, and vitality of your character. So these attributes will determine the number of HP, the number of damage, or the type of equipment that you can carry within the game. So most type or crusaders, knights, barbarians, etc., etc., will focus more of their attributes more on strength and vitality. So strength provides them with physical damage, and vitality provides them with high HP. Sometimes it also provides you with armor. Okay, so this is the usual stats build for your crusaders, knights, or swordsmans. The next attribute that we have is the mental attributes such as intelligence and sanity affect the character's ability to learn or reason and to withstand disturbing or horrifying situations. Because a player may be more or less intelligent than his character is, it's difficult to enforce intelligence by fiat. So some game system use intelligence level to place limits on the ability to cast certain kinds of magic spells. So basically, in this type of games, mental attributes are being represented via, again, the stats that we've shown earlier. So, but this time, we'll be having a character which the, or we'll be having a character class which the stats will focus more on the intelligence. So, as you can see in this build, the stats is more focused on intelligence. Okay, so the intelligence stats will determine what type of skills the character class can learn, okay, how much magic damage can it deal. So in this particular instance for the witch doctor, so the build will mainly focus on intelligence, okay. So meaning this character class can deal high magic damage and also for vitality. So vitality provides your character defense and more HP. So I believe regardless of the character that you're playing, one time or another, you'll be needing to assign stats for vitality in order for you to have a higher defense based on more HP and more armor. Next, we have status attributes, experience, and character levels. So in CRPGs, a character status attribute typically identify the character's location, health, state of needs, like a need for food or rest, relationship with other characters, inventory of items owned and carried, and any other value that may change from moment to moment. So among the most common implemented status attributes are two related ones that effectively measure the character's growth. That will be your experience point and your character level. So experience points will be abbreviated to XP. Okay? So experience points are earned by successfully defeating enemies in combat and by other activities that designer feels represent important achievements in the context of the game's story. So most of the time, aside from defeating enemies, you can also gather experience points from finishing task or quest within the game. So let's say for example, we have a screenshot of the MU origin character stats. So aside from the stats in here, you'll be also seeing some numbers in here. So let's say for example, this particular character is level number 74. Okay, so meaning it's level 74 out of maybe a 300 level or 500 max level. And also, you'll be having a progress bar in here represented by these numbers. So these numbers represents the gained experience within this particular level. So let's say for example, in order for this character to level up from level 75 to level 74 to level 75, he or she needs to collect this number of experience points, okay, to level up. So in this particular example, this character will be needing 119,000 experience point for him to level up. But as of the moment, the current experience point that this character have is 111,008. So if the character will be able to collect all these experience points, then this character will be leveling up from number 74 or leveling up from 74 to 75. Then once the character levels up, the character will be given additional attributes point or stat points that he or that you as the character can add in the strength, intelligence, agility, or stamina based on the requirements of your character. So usually this consists of completing quests or conducting successful negotiations with NPCs via dialogue. So typically experience have no intrinsic value and cannot be traded for anything else. They are simply a measure of progress, almost like a score with other games. So however, when a character achieves a certain level of XP, the character levels goes up a notch. So that's what we call leveling up. So the amount required to reach a new level gets higher as the game goes on. So because the player earns more XP for defeating more dangerous monsters or enemies. So achieving a new character level called leveling up usually gives the player an opportunity to raise one or more of his characterization attributes. So the game may implement or may give you 5 character stats per level. It may give you 10. It will vary depending on the game that you're playing. So in here we have a simple animation for the game Diablo 3. So once you level within the game, you'll be notified that you've leveled up. So aside from that, you'll be gaining additional experience and gold if you'll be finishing your quest. So upon leveling up, then you'll be provided with additional attribute status or stats within the game. Next, in many games, the player earn a certain number of points, so often 2 or 3 that can he add to whichever characterization attributes he is most interested in improving. So some parts of the game are often blocked until the player achieves a certain level in order to prevent him from wandering into an area that is too dangerous for him, and special features such as the ability to ride a horse are unlocked at a particular level as well. So this type of restrictions um, we will not let players to enter certain maps where that character cannot possibly survive. Okay? So certain maps will be requiring certain level in order to ensure that all players in order to ensure that all players that entering that map will be able to survive the monsters that are in there. Next, we have your cosmetic attributes. So because part of the appeal of role-playing game is the ability to play as a character of one's own design, so CRPGs often have a great many cosmetic attributes. They add variety but don't influence the game. Okay? So basically, when we say cosmetic attributes, these are the type of attributes that you can do or change within the game. So this could be the hair color, shape of the eyes, etc., etc. So cosmetic attributes include such as the hair, skin, and eye color, facial features, and body shapes within a particular race. Clothing and jewelry that doesn't function as armor or have magic powers, tattoos, piercing, and other body modification, and talismans, pets, and other distinctive objects that a person might keep nearby, such as Indiana Jones' hat. So in online role-playing games, rare examples of such objects are highly sought after and command high prices within the game economy. So even if they serve no function in a game's combat challenges. So cosmetic attributes add richness to the play experience, and more of them that you can afford the better, although they are not going to substitute for good gameplay. So for I believe the a good example for these cosmetic attributes that you'll be seeing in MOBAs will be the skins that are available for different heroes. So let's say for example, this particular hero in a MOBA game will have several skins that you can purchase, but most of the time those skins won't be providing you any advantage within the game. So those are examples of your cosmetic attributes. Next what we have is magic and its equivalent. So note that for magic, you can substitute psychic powers, spiritual power, mental energy, or any other concept that allows characters to influence the world themselves or other characters by means not available to us in real life. So it may be characterized as technological, but it's just an imaginary as magic is. So we include it here. So now, the use of magic is commonly restricted to a particular class of characters, often called mages, magic users, or spellcasters. So the purpose of this arrangement is to establish complementary classes of characters, one that is good at conventional physical combat and one that is good at magical combat. So which encourages the players to create mixed parties containing the members of both classes. Magic is most often used as a weapon or a shield and as a means of temporarily improving the values of the party character's attribute and harming the attributes of enemies. So this type of magic could be buffs to increase your defense, to increase your attack, or this could be the buffs that you can cast to your enemies. So that could lower their movement, okay? That could lower their defenses or that could lower their attacks. So typically when a spellcaster uses magic, he does so in a particular instant called casting a spell. So the effects of which are usually immediate, but there are several magic spells that would take time to begin working. Then there are also magic spells that are um, that you need to cast, okay, in order to have certain effects after a few seconds. Okay, so there are also magic spells um, that are called channeling. Okay, meaning you won't be able to move while casting those type of magic spells. So this is an example of a video from the game Decaron Rising. So this will be showcasing the In-Car Magician. So basically this is a type of spellcaster within the character class available for this game. So these are the skills that are available for the In-Car Magician. So most of the skills that will be showcased in here will be buffs. Okay, so these skills above in here will be buffs and these skills below in here are magic attack. So most of the skills from magicians in this type of games will contain elemental attacks. So that could be lightning, water, freeze, fire, etc. etc. So most of the time, these are different types of skills that you'll be seeing with different types of games. So all these games will be implementing different types of magic within the game. So it's up to the game how they're going to implement it. So some spells are over and done with right away, so more or less corresponding to a shot in a strategy game. Others may have a lasting effect that ends after a certain amount of time. So let's say for example, if you has this magic spell, it could last for a few seconds, okay? Like for example, bops, or it could also be magic attacks that could be cast once and damage once. So the effect of magic spells are almost never permanent in games. So each spell consumes a certain amount of magical power or mana when it is casted. So a character's definition includes a status attributes for the amount of mana the character has at the moment and the characterization attribute for the maximum amount that she may have. So basically, most of the games, the amount of mana that your character have will depend on the intelligence attribute that is assigned to your character. So the higher the intelligence attribute, then the higher mana the character may have. So drinking magic potions or simply awaiting for time to pass may restore the mana. So that will be depend on the game. But most of the time, especially in MMORPGs, in order for you to restore mana, you'll be needing to use potions. So this system permits the character to cast any combination of spells that she knows as often as she likes until her mana is gone. So most of the time, mana is being represented in games using blue bars. Okay, so this bar in here represents the mana of this wizard, and mana potions will often be represented in flask within the game that contains blue or green fluid. So depending on the game that you're playing. But most of the time, it will be represented with flask that contains blue fluid. Next, we have skills and special capabilities. In addition uh, to the basic human-like characteristics such as strength, intelligence, beauty, and so on, most RPG let characters use and improve special skills and capabilities. So, si RPG allow the player's character to learn new skills over time, a rarity in other games. So, the best designed games allow the player to attempt to learn as many skills as she wants, restricted only by the time available. Through her character's aptitude in that skills will be based on the previously assigned characterization attributes. So, how do we obtain skills in role-playing games? So, skills are somewhat analogous to the unit upgrades of strategy games. Like, unit upgrades, they allow a character to do something that he could not do before or to do it more effectively. So, the unit upgrade process in a strategy game is typically called research, where in CRPGs, the acquisition of skill is called learning. So characters often get better at a skill the more they use it, and they learn new things they can do with it. So sometimes a new skill is simply granted as a reward for having achieved a certain amount of experience. However, you can also require the player to seek out a mentor NPC who will teach the new skill to the character in exchange for money. So similar to the cost of research in strategy games. So most of the time in MMORPG games or massively multi-online role-playing games, skills are either learned from a mentor NPC, meaning you can buy the scrolls or the skills within that NPC, or you can have them loot from monsters or be picked up from monsters that you've defeated. So most of the time, those are the cases where you can learn skills in MMORPGs. So in here, we have a short video clip of a simple tutorial on how you're going to learn a skill in Run Online. Okay, so in Run Online is an example of an MMORPG game. Okay, so in order for you to learn the skills, you'll be needing to talk to an NPC. So in this particular example, that will be the NPC Sword Instructor. So as you can see, this character is a swordsman. So you can purchase the scrolls, okay, within the NPC. So these are the scrolls. These scrolls um, are your way to learn skills. Okay? So basically, if you buy the scroll and you use the scroll, then your character will be able to learn this skill. Okay? So again, as I mentioned earlier, in order for you to learn a skill, it's either you buy a scroll, okay, from an NPC, or you have it loot, or you have it picked up from defeated monsters. Okay? So the analogy between skills in CRPG and unit upgrades in strategy games is not exact. However, for following reasons, in CRPG, a skill earned by a character is permanent and stays with the character as long as he lives. So in strategy games, a unit upgrade ordinarily lasts only for the duration of the current mission or level. So in RPG games, okay, once you learn a skill, that's it. You already have that skill forever. Or some of RPG games or MMORPG games will be implementing a feature wherein you can reset the skills that you have. Okay? So basically that will only happen if you want to change class or you want to reassign your skill points that you've used for your skills. In strategy game, an upgrade normally applies to all units of a given type or sometimes to the player's entire army and economic system. And RPG, a new skill applies to exactly one character only. So that one character of yours. So the one who learned the skill, it's the difference between an industrial and a personal advance. So CRPG skills are individual, like the ability to play music rather than industrial, like an improved engine. So each character has to have his own record of skills learned to date. CRPG skills upgrades usually happen instantly, whereas research in strategy games normally takes time. So, although instant learning is completely unrealistic for something like archery or playing music, nobody wants to sit and watch while her character practices it. So, strategy game research doesn't have this problem because research happens parallel to other activities. So, basically, in CRPGs or in MMORPGs, in order for you to learn the skill, all you need to do is to right click the scroll or the item that you can buy in order for you to learn the skill. So different type of games will be implementing different types of skill or learning of skills. So that could be from scrolls or that could be from gems, etc., etc., depending on the game that is or depending on the game that you're playing. Next, using skill trees. So skill trees are usually organized into a skill tree, a growth path analogous to the tech tree often found in other games. So as with tech trees, learning a particular skill in the tree makes subsequent more advanced skills available. Other than that and the difference in the previous section, they're quite really similar. So this is an example of the skill tree for the Amazon character in Diablo 2. So as you can see, you have this skill tree in here. Okay, so basically, these first skills here above are the main mastery skills. Most of the time, these are passive skills. Okay, again, most of the time in MMORPGs, the first skill within your skill tree will be mastery skills, meaning they are not active, they are passive skills. Okay, these skills may provide you additional stats, etc., etc. And the skills in here below will be your active skills. So let's say, for example, in this particular sequence, um, in this branch, the character already unlocked the three skills in here. Then the last one is still unlocked. Okay, so this progresses linear. So meaning, in order for you to unlock this skill, you need to unlock first the skill before it. Okay, in order for you to unlock all the skills within the game, you need to unlock or to be able to use all the skills before you unlock the last skill. So different types of games will be implementing different types of skill trees, but most of the time that is the general realization. Okay, so you need to master the skills for the mastery before acquiring some of the skills that is related to that. So let's say, for example, this could be javelin and spear skills. Okay, that could be bow and crossbow skills, etc., etc. Players can Players earn skill points in Diablo 2, so through experience, and may learn a new skill or improve an existing one by assigning the skill point to one of the skills in the tree. So the skill choices remaining box at the upper right indicates the player has two skill points available to assign to one of the skills. So that will be this one. So skills remaining choice, meaning you can upgrade the skills that you have within the game to increase its damage or to increase its effectivity. So the small boxes next to each icon hold the number of skill points for that skill so far. So each additional point strengthens the effect of the skills during play. Next, we have the presentation layer for your RPG games. So like strategy games, the RPG have complicated core mechanics and the player needs access to a large amount of information. So in addition to the game world, the player needs to see critical information about health and possibly mana status of each member of the party. So basically in MMORPGs, you should be able to learn the current HP and mana of your party members in order for you to determine if you can still progress within the game, if you can still defeat the boss based on the HP or based on the mana that is available for your party members. So casting characters require a menu of the spells that they currently have available. So naturally, the type of machine you're making the game for makes a big difference. So CRPGs tend to have complicated user interfaces. So a game for a mobile platform can take advantage of its touchscreen but doesn't have much room into it to display a lot of information. Next, we have your interaction model. So most single-player RPG today and all multiplayer online ones use an avatar-based interaction model. So players may also have a familiar, a pet, or a companion who is under the player's control. So all of the RPG games, you'll be able to use a avatar. Okay, so you can control that avatar. That avatar represents you within that game world. So these are seldom seen in other genre. Older CRPGs normally use party-based model with the player controlling the activities of a small group of people who generally stay close together. So Japanese RPGs such as the Final Fantasy series still uses the party-based model. Next, we have camera model. So the first person perspective is useful for talking with the other characters and moving fast through the terrain. So the third person is more useful when the player wants to see her avatar fighting, casting skills, so on. And you can also see if you have monsters within the vicinity. So we have figure number 7. So Fallout New Vegas is a good example of the game that provides both. So it provides third party perspective. Okay, so basically you can see the surroundings and you can also see the character that you can use within the game. So the aerial perspective also lets the player see more of the surrounding terrain, so which helps characters explore and allows one character to scout a little way ahead of the danger while leaving the others visible on screen. The isometric perspective was once the de facto standard for party play based play, but with the advent of 3D games, context sensitive and free roaming camera models are now commonplace. Next, we have user interface. So in CRPGs, usually permit a much greater range of possible actions for player other than the other games, other than other genres. Okay, so consequently, there is a corresponding increase in the complexity of the user interface. So most PC titles offer an interface in which the player uses the mouse to click on icons, though some still offer a keyboard-only interface, while console tends to use the shooter-style interface using analog controllers. But most of the time, the RPG games or MMORPG games that we're playing nowadays will be giving you the mouse and keyboard controls to manipulate within the game. So most of the time with the games that we play, we're usually using the keyboard to navigate uh, forward, backward, sideways, and most of the time we'll be using the mouse to determine the camera angle that we want to use within the game. So this is an example of a user interface for the Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords during a combat sequence. So in this image, it illustrates some of the complexities of the CRPG interface. So it includes the following elements. So we have a minimap within the upper left. Okay, so you can see where are you currently located within the stage or within the map that you are in. Details about the current health and status of the enemy. Okay, so this is the enemy that you're fighting. So this is the basic status for the monster that you're fighting. Okay, then you'll also have the current health and status for the character. So this is the character that you're using, and these are the different type of moves that you can use. Okay, so basically the user interface for RPG games are more clogged with options and actions that you can use as compared to adventure games. Where in adventure games, it almost show no commands within the game unless if you're talking with an NPC or if you're doing something. So, but most of the time in RPG games, you are presented with all these user interfaces. So let's try to go back with some videos in here. Okay, so let's say for the user interface of Diablo, so you'll be seeing here your party members, okay, and their HP. You'll also be seeing here the amount of HP that you currently have and the amount of mana that you currently have. And in here you have your potions that you can use within the game. So how many potions do you have? And also for the user interface for run online. So in this particular instance, you'll be able to see your HP, MP, SP within the game, the skills that you have in here. Okay, you have your chat area and you have the additional commands that you can use within the game. So to see the character, to open your inventory, to see your skills, etc. etc. So basically, MMORPGs or RPG games will be implementing different types of user interface, but most of the time, all the components, all the actions, all the commands that you'll be needing will are displayed within the user interface. So that will be the end of our presentation or our discussion for the role-playing game. So for week number 7, guys, you won't be having your assessment for this week, but I'll be asking you to download a particular game. So that game will be Evoland. I want you to play that game, Evoland, and you'll be having your assessment next week on week number 8. So on week number 8, your assessment is composed of topics from this discussion of week number 7 and from the game Evoland, plus the contents that we will be discussing for week number 8. So you won't be having an assessment for week number 7, yes, but you'll be having a combined assessment of week number 7 and week number 8 on next week. Okay, so that will be composed of 40 items. So kindly download the game Evoland. I'll be providing you the link of the game. So kindly install that and play that game. So it will be part of your assessment. If you have additional questions regarding this module, kindly comment them on our Edmodo post. Okay guys, thank you and good luck with the assessment in module number 8.